Chapter 13. Quality health to the people through personal efforts. We have discussed some of the health challenges confronting Nigerians for ages in one of the previous chapters. I am sure you followed through that. I referred to UNICEF's report that Nigeria loses an approximated 2,300 children under the age of 5 and that about 145 women die of childbearing conditions every single day, which accounted for the second largest number of pregnant women and child deaths in the world. On a larger spectrum, people from every community in Nigeria suffer different degrees of health problems. Government in its own way has established various initiatives to make healthcare delivery accessible and affordable to Nigerians. One of such is primary healthcare that has been providing almost free or heavily subsidized feed to pregnant women. But obviously all the initiatives have proved to be grossly inadequate given limited resources at disposal of the government. This of course demands for extra efforts outside the government through personal or group social responsibilities. I am sure you should be aware of several of such efforts by corporate organizations and individuals. I like to pick one or two for the purpose of the book to show you how your small efforts can contribute largely to quality health delivery in Nigeria. Moses Lake Medical Team USA, bringing free health to Nigerians. Sometimes in 2006, a Nigerian-American pharmacist, Lateef Olani Farmd, who lives in Moses Lake, United States, visited Nigeria after a long while. It was a short visit but the impact has become very massive. While he was in the country, he noticed that Nigeria's medical sector was in deplorable condition. He was overwhelmed with the agony his fellow citizens go through daily. The flame of passion enveloped him to the overall. He kept on shedding tear inside. Oh, I have got to help somebody, I've got to help my nation, it is a must I do something now, he must have said to himself. On his way back to United States, he was restless, even sleepless as he continued to hear echoes of "Oh come to our aids, please do something" in his inner mind. He wished he could arrive US earlier, but distance would not allow. He arrived roughly 12 hours later. I could imagine him saying, "Thank God I'm here safely, it's time to work now." The next day, work began. He discussed his ugly experience with family and friends and called for help. Dialogues with the groups and individuals continued until he settled down on a final decision: formation of an NGO that will specialize in rendering free medical service to help the suffering people of Nigeria. He was warned by his fellow Nigerians in America to desist from trying to put his life in danger of being killed by dangerous Nigerians or the condition of the environment. At first he got discouraged, but the inner fire he carried could not allow him drop the passion. He continued to refine the liberation passion until later it generated an idea leading to establishment of Moses Lake Medical Team USA, a not-for-profit charity organization registered with the federal government of the United States of America under Section 501(c)(3) of the Internal Revenue Code. It beat his imagination as the fire speeded too quickly to friends and family within Moses Lake City of the United States and environs. From one or two persons joining the vision, it grew to a pool of membership from close to 100 health professionals, majority of who are American citizens and a few Chinese, England citizens among others. Moved by his passion and purpose, the community people in Moses Lake and environs have been constantly supporting the team with financial donation, eyeglasses from Lion Club, and surgical tools among others, making the mission to Nigeria on an annual basis a success. On yearly basis since 2008, Moses Lake Medical Team has been providing free healthcare services to the people of Nigeria, especially women, children and the vulnerable. The organization has brought free healthcare which include plastic surgery, eye surgery, general surgery and general medicine to residents of Kwara, Lagos, Oyo, Edo and Kebbi State among other states and towns of Nigeria. So far, more than 60,000 Nigerians have benefited from the free medical services, the cost value of which was put at about $2 million, over 500 million naira. #500 million. Dr. Latif Olaniyan demonstrated the principle of personal responsibility, which has gone a long way contributing enormously to improvement of health systems in Nigeria. As an average but comfortable young man, he could hardly imagine mobilizing support worth millions of dollars until he overcame his fear and set out for a course to help his country. You can never imagine how much of support you can gather if you can set out on a mission to help the health system. You may not even have to cover different states like Moses Lake medical team, but you surely can help a poor pregnant woman pay a little bill of number 3,000 or so. In addition, the team added medical skills transfer training to the free services. Several hundreds of medical professionals have benefited from the scheme. Similarly, John Obajimi, an engineer and Nigerian coordinator of the Moses Lake medical team, observed wide gap between medical policy in Nigeria and that of the United States, making health care less available or unaffordable to common city dwellers and the rural poor. He wrote a proposal to the president of the country, Mr. Muhammadu Buhari, to adopt the American model, which I believe is being considered. If the model is approved, it is expected to cause a major revolution in healthcare delivery in Nigeria, as the model has potentials to permanently abolish avoidable strikes in medical sector, make medical services cheaper and more available to the people, as well as generate millions of direct and induced jobs for the people. If everyone can come up with one solution or the other, Nigeria can beat the best of health systems in the world. You don't have to be a genius to bring a solution to a problem. All you require is to adopt personal responsibility. In this chapter, we have seen that personal or group social responsibility can reduce the frequency of child mortality, maternal mortality and other avoidable deaths if only you can make up your mind to contribute your quota. We can phase out the 2,300 deaths of children and 145 women with less than 3,000 volunteers. The next two chapters concern everyone as they delve into ways of eradicating crimes and insecurity in our nation. It is my hope that you will pay necessary attention. 1. Nigeria loses an approximated 2,300 children under the age of 5, and that about 145 women die of childbearing conditions every single day. 2. Oh, I have got to help somebody, I've got to help my nation, it is a must, I do something now. 3. At first he got discouraged, but the inner fire he carried could not allow him drop the passion. 4. You can never imagine how much of support you can gather if you can set out on a mission to help. 5. If everyone can come up with one solution or the other, Nigeria can beat the best of health systems in the world. Chapter 14. The best way to combat crime and violence. The world has been in search of solution for total eradication of crimes and violence from time immemorial. Talking about crime and violence, you may be concerned with drug trafficking and addictions, armed robbery, rape, political thuggery and assassinations, domestic violence against women and children. Generally, people tend to believe it is the sole responsibility of government to rid communities of all the crimes and make the world safe from crimes, violence and other vices. Some other people understand God should be the one to deal with crimes by wiping off the criminals from the surface of the earth. How wrong they are. Truly, the government has responsibilities to protect the lives and properties of the public. But all the responsibilities are not the duties of government or God. It is your duty too. In a move to combat crime, government has been deploying the use of law and gun, but it has not yielded acceptable fruits that guarantee peace and tranquility. The reasons are what I am about opening your eyes to see. The solution is resident in hands of every citizen. The most effective weapons to deal with crimes and violence are the good people surrounding the perpetrators. In fact, the closest government to people are the people within the neighborhood, so if you are talking about government dealing with crimes, it is the people in the neighborhood, in the same house, area, office among others. I know you are used to the notion that the closest government is local government, but I can tell you that you are the closest government to your neighbor. The perpetrators of crime hates the government because they see the governments as enemies fighting against their freedom through law and gun, but they could be more open, relaxed and free to people in the neighborhood about the problems leading them to criminal activities. Now, let me tell you how. You remember at the beginning chapters we talked about income or wealth distribution as a major tool of consideration to address our various problems. While income symbolizes money, wealth may be expressed as time, energy, experience, tangible and intangible resources. You can use any of the above to care for a drug addict and get him or her transformed into a better citizen. For instance, I heard of a religious organization that specializes in reaching out to the addicts. The strategy deployed is to rent the club, which is a den hosting the addicts on a Friday night for transformative activities. Along the line, many of the addicts have been transformed into agents of change. That is what is expected of you and every other citizen. As you read on, you will see that it's not as difficult as you think to defeat violence in our land. Now, let's consider firefighting approach and how it can help us reduce crime. Firefighting mechanism, a good way to deal with violence and crime. I have observed that the best way to deal with violence and crime is to employ the knowledge and principle of firefighting. Experts believe that there are three elements that must be present before fire occurs: oxygen, fuel and source of ignition. When you remove any of the element, most importantly, the source of ignition, you kill the power of the fire. When a place is caught up in flame and you want to put off the fire with fire extinguishers, the best way to achieve that is by pointing nozzle of the chemical agent at the source of the fire. But when you apply the chemical to the flame in the space, the fire will never go off completely, it may only weaken the fire's strength for a while. And then the fire will gather more strength and explode again and again. I was told of a fire incident that occurred in the house of a big madam. She had a fire extinguisher capable of putting off the fire, but couldn't handle the extinguisher to put off the fire because all along she had always believed that fire service was responsible to fight fire and not her. Having lacked the necessary knowledge of firefighting skill, she managed to carry the extinguisher cylinder and threw it in the fire, thereby messing up the whole stuff. When neighbors came around to help her, there was no extinguisher to engage the fire, and of course you can imagine the consequence. She lost all her properties before arrival of fire service. What do you think was the problem? There were two reasons for the problems. One, she had always believed it was not her responsibility to be putting off fire, and two, she didn't know she was to aim at the root, the source of the fire. So, how does the above relate to crime and violence? All human beings are born good and well. The society and life experience corrupt people. There will never be cases of crimes and violence without the enabling sources. Conditions people found themselves constitute the enabling sources of ignition of crimes and violence. Such sources include poverty, hunger, rejection, inequality, discrimination, injustice, violation of human rights, among others. But oftentimes we attack the flame of crimes and violence, ignoring the sources of ignition: poverty, hunger, rejection, and all others shown above, through our resentment for the perpetrators instead of showing them care and love that can encourage them to imbibe positive attributes. The best way to fight fire is by prevention. Similarly, the best way to fight against crimes and violence is by preventing the causes that trigger people into it. For instance, poor child indulging in child labor or street begging instead of attending school is a potential criminal in the near future. A hungry man is not only an angry man, but a potential thief or armed robber. A hungry woman too is a potential dangerous woman. Many young guys indulging in rape could have been better citizens if a neighbor has counseled him or her before developing passion for the crime. Poverty dragged many to child trafficking, hard drug deals and many more. A little assistance could have saved them from the illicit acts. All of these evils could be prevented if you or someone capable out there could share a fraction of his money, time, energy or any other resources with the needy in your neighborhood, thereby remove the enabling source of crime and encourage them to be better citizens. Some good guys become gangs because they were unlucky to have found themselves in the midst of bad boys or girls, all because the good guys are too busy to offer them friendships. Use of gun and law alone can never go far addressing the criminal problems. Sometimes they aggravate the problems. When arrested, most times the government through the security agencies and the courts send criminals to the prison. They get to prison, connect more criminal and formed more deadly gangs to afflict the society after completion of jail term. Don't think the model I am sharing with you is strange. We have many people who understand the principles and are already applying them. One of these is a young man called Ahmed Isa. Ahmed Isa, the Brekkie family radio icon, preventing crimes the best way. As explained above, individual responsibilities of good citizens are the most dangerous weapons against evils in the society. It is very potent in stopping crimes anywhere. Man counseling responsibilities address the root of people's challenges faster and easier than government's efforts. A young man in Nigeria, Ahmed Isa, has been showing excellent examples, leading the way to eradicating nefarious activities in Nigeria. I hope you will be inspired after reading this section and follow his footsteps. Ahmed Isa, in his early 40s, is an energetic young man who is no stranger to poverty growing up, as he was raised by the poor and within poor environment. He has suffered deprivations, frustrations and problems strong enough to drive him, like others, into criminal acts and social ills, but he made up his mind early in his career life to surrender himself, together with some battalion of friends and contacts, to pursue social good by helping the underprivileged in the society, irrespective of ethnicity, religious affiliations or status in the society. Like everyone else, he understood that ours is a society where the wrong has been operating for a very long time, and the bad people corrupting the society will not fold their arms and allow anyone to just come and change things overnight. But unlike everyone else, he chose to be different, take up a cause to challenge the ills and the perpetrators through his personal responsibility. Take, for example, many people have been denied promotion, entitlements, salaries or pension in both government and private, leading them or someone close to them to get discouraged and take to social ills. Everyone complains and nothing comes out of the ranting, and going to court may aggravate the problems rather than helping the situation, given the cost associated with hiring a lawyer for defense. In order to address the social problems, he founded a project he called Brekkie Family, with focus on fighting injustice and social ills, defend the poor against the oppressing rich, support the rich when engaging in good cause, and giving voices to the voiceless in the society beyond the boundaries of class, race, tribe or religion. Brekkie Family Radio TV show has a simple operating mode. It profiles cases of people being oppressed, investigates the matters in question thoroughly, advocates to the public on air on their behalf, and finds a concrete solution through interventions of the public or concerned government authority. When they dig up any case, they ensure it gets resolved in a week or less, occasionally operating as mediator between the victimized individuals and the authority concerned. He features representatives of the organizations, including government top-notches, on air to educate the Nigerian public on their sides of the story, with a view not to only solve the problem in question but to prevent further occurrences. Within a little space of time, he had an array of volunteers and financial supporters, among of whom were lawyers, hundreds of philanthropists, technical supporters, among others. His lawyers volunteer to defend the poor and vulnerable in court free of charge. The philanthropists support with cash to pay hospital bills, establish widows and the hopeless with business startup capitals, while his technical supporters train the ordinary persons, sometimes free, in trades to empower them secure sustainable sources of income. Due to impact it makes on the society, giving hope to the hopeless and indirectly removing the root causes of crimes and violence. The Brekkie Family Project has become a conglomerate of a sort, as people across the world are lending in their supports in cash and kind to help the ordinary people when their cases are profiled. From daily radio to online TV to film project featuring the upcoming artist to a low-cost housing scheme, the project keep growing in popularity and impact by the day. All courtesy personal responsibilities. Ahmed shows cares and extends love to the rejected, dejected and those you may call bad boys. He has touched the lives of tens of thousands of people who could have resulted to crimes and violence, perhaps retaliating against the society for the reasons of poverty. social ills or injustice. As you can see, the project is growing beyond the scope of just helping the ordinary people to helping to build the nation at large. The other day, I was listening to his radio program. Calls were coming in from France, Italy, Dubai, London, Russia among others, as Nigerians in diaspora pour out their minds on how the country can be transformed using their respective experience abroad. In the course of duty, Ahmed, who was barely known in Nigeria, has become a toast of the general public, powerful people in government as well as private business echelons. He had gained access to chiefs of almost all government agencies, including inspector generals of the police, army chiefs, and presidency, among other. The ordinary boy of those days has joined the leagues of stars, all made possible through personal responsibility. He had cornered global recognitions and awards, and was even reported to have bagged many honorary doctorate degrees by some universities who feel his impact. The Mini Project had become a global movement as Nigerians and foreigners across the globe are being mobilized to help the needy. He demonstrated that the principle of income redistribution or wealth sharing can work perfectly in Nigeria. Philanthropists in cash and kind volunteered to contribute their resources to help the poor and oppressed through Ahmed's platform. I admonish you to also create a credible platform today, and you will be surprised at the degree of support you will get. And remember, the more problems you solve, the more power the society gives you. Of course, he did not achieve the feat without some dark clouds around him. He had encountered threats to life and incidents of assault along the line of his passionate duty. For instance, in 2013, ISO was reported to have been locked up in one police cell on the instruction of the top-ranking customs official and beaten to the point of death for following up a case of a deprived Nigerian. He escaped miraculously. The incidents, among others, did not water down his spirit from pursuing his mission. On another occasion, he was also reportedly followed suspiciously by two SUVs while coming back from a program held in Maitama, Abuja. Suspecting foul play, he managed to escape by driving right into the Inspector General of Police's house, where he was offered police escort, which he politely turned down. About an hour later, he continued his journey home. Unfortunately, he was pursued again by the same two SUVs the second time, but again he escaped. Personal responsibility comes with a price, but the price falls far below the prospects and opportunities the responsibilities has to offer. So don't ever be discouraged. The challenges will come, but only to make you stronger. Ahmed had become the government for majority of the oppressed within Abuja and across Nigeria. We have learned from them that we the people are the closest government to the common people, and millions of root causes of societal evils can be easily removed courtesy our efforts. It's easier and more effective to prevent crimes and violence around us than the use of law and gun. Stop ignoring danger signals. One is majority. Dear reader, you can learn from Ahmed's story above that crimes and violence don't just happen in a society without the consent of the people afflicted. How do good people encourage crimes? By ignoring the danger signals of hate, discrimination, poverty and hunger in the lives of the helpless people in the community, who out of frustration or evil associations may resort to criminality. It is time to begin addressing the root causes of crimes and violence. Now, let me show you one hidden secret to expose you to how powerful your little contribution can go. The degree of impact of one criminal is not proportional to one good person in the society. Only one criminal can afflict or wipe off a million people or even a whole generation. Therefore, a little help or show of love and care to that little street boy can be all the country needs to escape the next generation of criminality. You remember what we discussed earlier about it takes only one. Sometimes it takes only one person to liberate a society. The same way, it takes only one person to put everybody in danger. Let that start with you. Do you remember the story of the injured manager we mentioned in Chapter 1 who refused to remove unsafe condition by drying a wet floor, or at most draw the attention of the cleaner to it, thinking it was not his job? He came back and tripped on the same spot and broke his leg. The same goes for spread and impact of crime. The crime you fail to prevent today by offering little help can come back to victimize you tomorrow. Don't be like my pastor colleague who never believed that his family contributed to making the poor boys in their community in Nigeria criminals by failing to help them when they were younger. His family is doing well now, but they are terrified by the poor boys turned criminals. Don't think you are free and safe because you are not particularly affected by an issue at the moment. You could still be affected one way or the other. Dear reader, I believe you have made up your mind to change your country for good. Great, stand up and get to work. Crime will cease in our land the day every person decides to help somebody in need. Crises will be drastically reduced if everyone zero can be peaceful, peacekeeping, embrace peace, dialogue peace, teach peace and show love. That is the best way I know to ensure sustainable peace. Ahmed Isa has shown the way. You can also begin a love and peace movement today. In this chapter, I have tried to show you that crime can be easily prevented that controlled by removing the sources that trigger them. The triggering sources include poverty, hunger, and discrimination among others. We also learned that a little assistance you render a less privileged can trigger restoration of peace in our communities and nation. The next chapter will show us how security can be handled with your little help. 1. Generally, people tend to believe it is the sole responsibility of government to rid communities of all the crimes and make the world safe. 2. The most effective weapons to deal with crimes and violence are the good people surrounding the perpetrators. 3. You are the closest government to your neighbor. 4. It's not as difficult as you think to defeat violence in our land. 5. The best way to deal with violence and crime is to employ the knowledge and principle of firefighting. 6. The more problems you solve, the more power the society gives you. Chapter 13. Chapter 15. How to overcome insecurity. Insecurity is everyone's problems, but we tend to push the entire responsibilities to the security operatives of the government. Individuals and community have big roles to play in many ways. First, the criminals unleashing terror on the people and communities such as armed robbers, militants, insurgents are someone's children, somebody's friends or neighbors and so on. Before they grew rocky hearts and set for criminality, someone somewhere, parent, friend, neighbor or a family member must have neglected his or her roles in supporting, educating or guiding them to become good and productive citizens. The actions or inactions of those people must have contributed in a way or another to their acts of criminality. What about religion leaders? You have significant roles to play as well. In a particular region of Africa, one of the things fueling militancy is believed to be in direct support the militants enjoy from their pastors of the same origin who'd never preach against the act on the account that they were fighting for their rights or protecting their interests. Whenever you talk about criminality of the militants, you'll be shocked at how people of the region will always support them. Also in another region, very volatile because of insurgency, the clerics contributed a great deal by interpreting portions of the religious book in a way that fuel hatred against people of other religions, picturing them as infidels. This was the foundation upon which insurgency thrived. Largely, security or insecurity works with information. Security's strategies are developed by intelligence gathered through information from the public. When last have you reported the jobless miscreants in your neighborhood going out and coming in at odd hours with properties? You have a duty to supply the security operatives with necessary information about nefarious activities going on around you. You will learn how cooperation of citizens works below. A case of group personal responsibility to address our security and any other challenges. We may need to grow from personal responsibility to group personal responsibility, where individuals with passion for a common cause come together to form a team against a menace. This model can work for any challenge, including technological interventions. Imagine if you have a passion for a particular technological invention and you have people with similar passion. That could bring a great result. Late 1990s, or a community in Oyo State, Nigeria was terrorized by a group of deadly armed robber gang. The matter was reported to the police, but the police was not capable of addressing the challenge. Instead of the terror declining in strength, it grew bigger and bigger, putting every family under tension. Movements were restricted as a result of fear of attack. It was a long reign of terror as police could not bring the criminals to justice. The community people continued to endure the prison experience in their hitherto haven until a point in time when some of the landlords decided to take personal responsibilities by mobilizing all young adult male children and heads of families. The mobilization led the men of the community to form a local vigilante force with the mandate to face the terrorizing robbers from all fronts. Individual personal responsibility grew to become group responsibility aimed at confronting the common enemy. Sooner than later, the little step developed into a mighty movement of local military, even stronger than the force of the government's police force. People in the neighborhood started volunteering relevant information about the identities of the culprits. It was so easy for them to identify suspects. If you go out in the night and come home early morning with television or items beyond your economic limit, you are a suspect. Irrespective of closeness, neighbors offered to secretly divulge information of suspected movements of neighbor sons to the vigilante leaders, and that was the breakthrough. The information helped them to arrest or kill suspects caught in the act armed. Guess what? Over 90% of the criminals were children of residents in the same community. They were spoiled by their parents, and now they had overgrown into a force of darkness. The movement grew and grew in strategists and strength. In no time all the robbers were fished out and full justice was dispensed through legal means. Oh, what a great relief! The community never experienced such terror again till today, thanks to the power of group social responsibility of a few people who cannot sit and just complain. Our problems live within us, so are the solutions. You are the solution, I am the solution, and we are the solution. The root cause of majority of our predicaments lives in our neighborhood, our immediate environment. We must fish them out. You and I must fish out all the root causes and supply solution. That is a good way to lasting peace. How Boko Haram was weakened. Northeastern part of Nigeria was held hostage for several years by a group of religious terrorists called Boko Haram. It started as a religious movement against Christianity, as churches were the primary targets. The clerics and leaders all kept quiet, none of them raised a voice against the ills. No family or neighbor reported the suspects or made any meaningful open action against the group until it escalated beyond attacks on people of Christian faith, to force afflicting people of all religions and tribes, in marketplace and other public places. Before they began speaking up, it has gone beyond a local problem to national calamity that got Nigeria enlisted among terrorist nations. Flat initio, the fight against the group was left in the hands of Nigerian military and security operatives. Countless thousands of the security personnel lost their alongside common civilians. Respite started coming the way of the region when every citizen was willing to volunteer to divulge information about members of the sects to the security operatives. Earlier, like I said, the local vigilante group, local hunters, the clerics. Young men and women left the combat in the hands of police and military alone until it went out of hand. Many of them later volunteered as civilian Joint Task Force (JTF) with the military. The local JTF supplied the military necessary information for intelligence, showed them the en-road to hideouts of the criminals, and joined them in the military operation when occasion demands. Within a space of 18 months, the terrorists were largely defeated and relative peace returned to the zones hitherto held hostage. If all stakeholders had cooperated with police and military from inception, the degree of impact of the terrorism would have been minimal. There are two sides to the coin. It paid off for both the residents of the region as well as the civilian Joint Task Force volunteers. As a way of compensating the civilian Joint Task Force volunteers for laying down their lives, supporting the Nigerian military in the fight against the Boko Haram, the federal government formally recruited 250 of them into the Nigerian army in July 2016 after concluding their military training. Let me tell you how significant that opportunity was. I am aware that many young, energetic, jobless Nigerians have applied separately to join the military cadres and were not considered even after 5 or 6 attempts. So it is a major breakthrough for the patriots and national heroes to be compensated with employment opportunities on a platter of gold. This navigates us back to the issues of poverty and unemployment. The civilian JTF sacrificially volunteered to do something for the good of the nation and have been privileged to escape the scourge of poverty and get economically empowered. All thanks to personal responsibility. Are you aware that security outfit like the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, a paramilitary agency of the federal government, was a product of creative thinking of one man who established the organization as a volunteer security entity? Today, Nigeria prides as having an alternative security service providers who are more civil in approach than the Nigeria Police Force. You can begin a peace movement today and you will be amazed how your life and the nation will be transformed through that small effort. Next time, before you complain, remember, you have been told and shown the way to personal peace and national prosperity. You are personally responsible. 1. What about religion leaders? You have significant roles to play. 2. Largely, security or insecurity works with information. 3. Security strategies are developed by intelligence gathered through information from the public. 4. Our problems live within us, so are the solutions. You are the solution. 5. You can begin a peace movement today and you will be amazed how your life and the nation will be transformed through that small effort. Conclusion and final thoughts. Friends, let me first congratulate you for the energy you have invested reading this book from page to page. Only a serious-minded citizen could have sacrificed this much to get to this page. That being said, I feel a sense of fulfillment that I have been privileged once again to pass new generational nuggets to people of the globe, especially my fellow Nigerians. And I believe that you have also taken as much antidotes to national transformation as you require transforming your world, community and the country. As we all commit to complaining less and doing more, I can see our problems becoming less and less until we make heaven out of our family, community, nation and the entire universe. Waiting hurts. Forgetting hurts. But not knowing which decision to take can sometimes be the most painful. Jose N. Harris. The above is credited to Jose Harris, from his masterpiece, A Story of Faith, Hope and Love. I consider it as the best and the most appropriate to round up the book. After reading this book, you must have conceptualized what problems to solve as we bind ourselves with covenants to transform our nation. The decision must be made immediately. If you delay in decision-making, you are set for hurts all over again. One way to never to forget the principles taught in this masterpiece is to start doing something now. When you wait, you'll forget, and when you forget, you may never have a second chance. Permit me to end with this message. Don't entrust your future on others' hands. Rather make decisions by yourself with the help of God's guidance. Hold your beliefs so tight and never let go of them. Hark Harold Sarmiento. 1. As we all commit to complaining less and doing more, I can see our problems becoming less and less. 2. One way to never to forget the principles taught in this masterpiece is to start doing something now.